The topic today is the power of meaningful parent participation, and it's really talking about the parent involvement survey. So that survey is a state performance plan indicator, SPPI 8 survey that comes out in the spring. And not all parents are surveyed, but a good portion of parents of children that are being served in special education are surveyed. And we're looking at kind of what's going on with those families. So it's measuring the percent of parents with a child receiving special education services who report that schools facilitated parent involvement as a means of improving services and results for children with disabilities. So really what Pamela wanted to focus on today is, what does that parent involvement look like? What can we do as schools and as parents to make sure that everybody is involved, so that we're making sure that we're reaching everyone and getting everyone the information that they need. And that's really why that survey is important, because the schools receive that information from their parents and they can see what areas that they did well in or what areas they need to work on more. During this presentation, we're going to be looking at some of those questions that are on the survey and kind of talking through how this can help grow our schools for our children. So data is collected in the spring for this parent involvement survey, and not all of you may receive one of these surveys. They randomly pick a sample of parents from different districts to see and to survey. So it may be that you might not be picked this year, but you might be picked next year. The survey is done now it's done electronically, and you would receive information on how to get that. So that has not come out yet. It normally comes out very late spring, right before the summer. So be looking, because you may be picked. The first question on that survey is, I am considered an equal partner with teachers and other professionals in planning my child's individualized education program, or the IEP. So it's really looking at, do you feel like as a parent you were an equal partner in planning that? So your involvement shares that same importance and that same value, working together to build that IEP, that plan for your children. So when we're looking at that definition of equal and partner, the definitions are important because the definitions enable us to have a common understanding of that word. So they allow us to be on the same page when discussing or reading about an issue. So IDEA establishes that parents are equal partners, equal members of the ARD committee team. Good communication between parents and teachers are encouraged prior to the ARD committee meeting so that we can draft those IEPs together. So really, hopefully, your districts are contacting you well before your ARD and talking to you and getting some information from you before you sit down at that ARD meeting. Parents are encouraged to ask questions prior to the ARD and then during the ARD. Definitely share your concerns and speak on your child's behalf. So make sure that you are that equal partner. So here's some suggestions to foster that equal partnership. The parent companion gives suggestions for that equal partnership. Learn and understand the special education process. SPEDTEX, the Special Education Information Center, is a great resource for that. They are a call center that you can call and ask any questions that you might have about the special education process, and they will provide you really good information and point you to the resources you need to make the best decisions for your children. We also have a SPEDTEX website, and you have parent resources on that website, and that's what's linked right here. You can share information about your child's strengths. Definitely share the things that you see at home that your child can do, because sometimes those are different. It goes both ways. Sometimes they're doing things at school that you didn't know that you've never seen them do at home, and then the other way around. So definitely make sure that you're sharing their strengths with the school. And then ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I think sometimes that art meeting can be so intimidating, and you have all these people around you. And it's just sometimes you might lose your questions. I know that happens to me. And it's just making sure, keep track of those, write them down when they come to mind, and then just be sure to ask. Find out who you need to ask the question to, and if that person doesn't have the answer, they should be able to point you to the person that does. And then really get a good idea. I think sometimes we get so much information that we might say, yeah, I'm getting all of it, and some of it might not be clear. If that happens, and it may not hope it happen right there in the moment, it may be later on you're like, oh, that just didn't seem right to me, or I didn't quite understand that. Don't be afraid to come back around to that and say, hey, when we discuss this, I need to have a better understanding of that. I think sometimes that can be really intimidating. um, Offer suggestions and share goals that you would like for your child. Share your concerns and make sure um, that the committee addresses each one appropriately. So definitely be thorough in expressing your concerns and making sure that they're all addressed um, as they come up. Keep the team's focus on the big picture and your child's long-term needs. So a lot of times that is bringing it back to um, this is my kid, and this is what my kid needs, and really going into that and working with the school as a team, as these are what we see that our kid needs. How can we get to that? How can we meet together and get this taken care of for our student? Speak up, advocate on your child's behalf. And then there's a resource here for the Q&A of Part B of IDEA, parent participation, so the Parent Hub. So that's linked here as well for you to reference. So that and the Parent Companion give a lot of good information on how we can make sure that we are fostering that equal partnership. Understanding needs. So that second question on that survey is, teachers understand my child's needs. So we want to make sure that we're getting to that our teachers really know the students that they're working with. So really let them know about your kiddo. Use or create a getting to know my child sheet. You could include information such as their strengths, their challenges, learns best when, their favorite things, favorite foods. I mean, there are little things like that that can make such a big difference in the relationship. So being able to share that with the teachers will help them know how to best reach your children. Communication. So communication is a big one, and this is something that that you will find prevalent in all of these recommendations, is make sure that we have good communication. So the question for communication on the survey is, the school communicates regularly with me regarding my child's IEP progress and other important issues. So this is making sure that they are sending home those reports. So you should be progress monitoring is a form of assessment in which student learning is evaluated on a regular basis. So you might be getting, depending on how your district has it set up, you may be getting a progress report every 3 weeks, and every 6 weeks you may be getting a report card. You should also be getting IEP progress on their goals and objectives. So how is my student doing? They should be providing that to you on a regular basis. And it should be that if there are concerns or things, maybe progress is not being made in the way that it's written right now, you can address that with the school, and then the school on the other hand, should also be addressing that with you. So concerns. My concerns and recommendations are considered by the Admission Review and Dismissal ARD Committee in the development of my child's IEP. So this again, I think runs into that communication. We want to make sure that we are communicating our concerns to the school so that they can address them. And sometimes I know in my experience as a teacher, there were things that when I met with my parents well before the ARDS, and we talked about, I kind of had a draft of, this is what I think we should be working on for this next year. And then sometimes my parents had a different idea, and it was something that I had not thought about because I did not see that as a need in the school setting. So it helped me to better understand. So that again, I think goes into that communication and really knowing that I did not realize that was a concern because it wasn't a concern at school, but it was a concern with the parent. So we were able to work together to develop a goal that addressed that issue for the parents and with the parents. Sometimes I think we have concerns and we're just not sure who we need to bring those concerns to. So this, we have linked here, resolving issues, and it is a one pager. And I think at the end, we'll probably go back and look at it. I don't want to click out of the presentation, and not be able to get back to it. So it is a one pager that has been developed that kind of gives you some examples of some questions. Like if it's a question about the IEP, who can I go to? Well, you could go to your child's teacher. They're going to be able to answer that for you. But you may have other questions that might need to be asked of the diagnostician at your campus, or it may need to be addressed by an administrator. So you may need to go to the principal or the special ed director. So it kind of helps you get an idea of who you can go to within your district so that you can get the answers and address the concerns that you have. So after high school, when we're looking at life after high school, the question is, the school provides planning for life after high school, including services to help my child reach his or her goals. So we know that transition planning starts really early on. We start talking about that when our kids are 12, 13, 14 years old. And we really want to plan to make sure that that they have goals and that they have a plan set for them after high school. So post-secondary looks different for each one of our students. What are they going to do after high school? So right here, Dr. Baker linked the Student-Centered Transition Network, and it is a really good resource. It gives you a lot of good information about things that you can do with your child to look at, is my student going to be one that we are going to be able to have a job? What kind of job help do we need? Do we need a job coach? Where can we find that? Do we need a connection to the Texas Workforce Commission? So this website will help link you to all of those resources so that you have a better idea of, if my child has this kind of need, what can I look for that will help me after we get out of school? And they've worked together with some of the colleges, and they're creating different pathways for students with disabilities. So it's going to look different for each student. But that will give you some good resources for that. And you have a vocational person at your district that should be able to talk to you about some of the options that each district, because different districts have different programs. So they'll be able to talk through those programs. So again, don't be afraid to start asking those questions really early on. So some agencies that she wanted to provide for life after high school, and this kind of goes into that sixth question. The school provides information on agencies that can assist my child in planning for life after high school. Region 10, we have an interagency live binder. So this gives you a whole bunch of different resources. a whole bunch of different organizations that can help, that provide extra therapies or that have job coaching programs. So that can give you a lot of good information. Texas Health and Human Services, there are lots of programs that are available through them for our students with disabilities and for adult programs as well. And then she also has some agency and organizations for adults listed here. And then we have the Art Brown Bag Interagency Directory, and that also gives you some different resources of companies and agencies and organizations that will provide you resources that you might need as your child gets older. Inclusion. So then this question regards inclusion. The school includes my child in ARD meetings. So that question is, I think the question is worded a little bit differently now. The students as appropriate should be included in their ARD meetings. Definitely we want to make sure that the ARD is student focused. That's what we're here for. And we want to make sure that that is what's driving our agenda. Having the child there, if it's appropriate, really helps with that. And so she has some resources here linked that help with that self-determination. So teaching our children how they can make decisions for themselves, letting them know that they are an important part of this and they can drive it. I loved one time we were having a difficult day, and the student asked me if I was following his BIP. And I loved it because he was part of that, and he had been a part of developing that behavior intervention plan. And I was, I was using all of our techniques and all of our strategies we had put in there, and there was something that he was checking up on me and making sure that I was following it, and he knew that terminology because he had been part of the ARD. So that's something that it's really good to be able to teach our students also how to be a self-advocates and how to speak up and let us know this is what I'm having a hard time with. This is what I want to work on. And sometimes we may have to help guide those conversations, but as much as they can be included, I think that's good. I think it's good to have, if you have a student that may not be able to sit in that ARD meeting. Something that we used to like to do is we did an all about me page. So kind of like that information page we talked about earlier. It was something that we did together with the students where they may have drawn a picture, or we had a picture of the student, and then we had things that they liked, the all about me, things that they like to do, things they like to eat, things they like to participate in, their favorite books. So we had that information there, and we had that page. If it was a student that could not participate in the ARD, we had that page there with us, and we reviewed that all about me before we even started the meeting, so that they could get it, so that everybody could remember this is what we're focusing on. We're focusing on this student. Partners Resource Network has a webinar, creating leaders through student-led IEPs, coming up on February 15th. So we have that linked here as well. That might be something that at the very end, when I get out of the presentation, I can drop the link to that, the registration link to that in the chat. And then also we can put the Partners Resource Network web address in here, because they also have some good webinars coming up that don't have to do with just the student-led IEPs. They have some other things coming up as well. Special education resources. So part of that, what I just talked about with Partners Resource Network, they are one of the PTI, the Parent Training Information Centers for Texas. So they provide a lot of good information. They provide webinars. We work in partnership with them a lot to create resources. SPPI again has really good resources on their website, and you can always call SPPI to get information and to have them point you to the resources that you need to make good decisions for your kiddos. And then family resources. So at the Texas Education Agency, has some family resources that they have linked there as well. Most of the time they bring you back to Partners Resource Network and SpedTex just because they have such a good wealth of resources available for students. So we have time for questions. And then also, I wanted to share with you, coming up this Saturday, we have the Connecting the Dots Expo. So a very good event that has a lot of the agencies that we just discussed that are linked on here are going to be at this expo. It's here at Region 10 Education Service Center, 400 East Spring Valley Road in Richardson. And it is a come and go type thing. You can 9 to 2. There will be lots of booths set up so that you can walk around and find the ones that are specific to your or your child's needs. There's different presentations that they have going on during it they talk about guardianship, and they might talk about some of that self-determination. Some of the colleges that have programs for our special needs kiddos, they have booths set up there so you can get more information about those. So no matter what age your child is, it's a really good conference. I think some people think that since it's transition based, it's for our older kids, but it's really not. It's really, there are so many good resources there. So definitely plan on coming to that. April 2nd, we have another one, same sort of thing with the same vendors, but it's going to be in Waxahachie. So if you're closer to Waxahachie, you may want to wait until April 2nd. So same time frame, 9 to 2, and same vendors, same breakout sessions and everything there. So please join us for that.